So, welcome to Let's Talk. It's a bit of an unusual Let's Talk. You normally see our beautiful yellow sofa, but this time the Let's Talk is going to be over a little bit of brunch, because this particular person that I want to introduce you to is really special to me. For those of you who know, this year is a bit of a milestone year for me, and you're going to find out a little bit more about that later. But for now, I want to introduce you to the person behind, or the person who steers and leads the charity that we've chosen to support this year. Asian Standard Bradford has chosen to support this charity, and we hope you will also do the same and get behind this charity that does some incredible work in the community, in particular in the healthcare sector. For me, I've already experienced firsthand the care and the services, and I'm sure many of you have as well. So let's not waste any time, because I've got some food waiting for me as well, and I don't want that to get cold. You know what I'm like, me and my food. So I'm going to introduce you to the new fundraising director for Bradford Hospitals Charity, which is our chosen charity, to Sharon Milner. How are you, Sharon?
I'm very well, Fatima.
Have I introduced you correctly? I
You
don't,
have.
because obviously I got the title wrong once when we did an article, so I just wanted to make sure we've got it right this time.
Yeah, I'm director responsible for all areas of the charity. So from the fundraising side to the governance side, so just making sure that things are running smoothly overall within the organisation. So yes, and delighted to be here, 8 months into the role. So still finding my feet, but enjoying it nevertheless.
Excellent. Well, we're so happy to have you here at Asian Standard Office today, and I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about your role, about why you took up this role as well, because you're fairly new in the role, and a little bit more about the charity. But before then, we've got some treats for you. So we have some Desi chai. So here's a toast to Bradford Hospitals Charity.
Toast to you too.
And have you ever had Desi chai before?
This is my first time, and that is delightful. That sweetness to it is just so comforting, and I've never tried that before.
Really?
So this is my first time, and it's got a 10 out of 10.
Because this is really milky, isn't it? Not completely different to the usual English breakfast that we always have.
Indeed. I looked at it and I thought, oh, it's going to taste like coffee.
Yeah.
But it's so not.
Yeah.
It's like Horlicks.
So different.
A little bit of sugar.
Yeah. Just don't fall asleep on me, though.
No, I'll try not to do that.
I'll try and keep the interview questions engaging and entertaining. But yeah, it can do that, and it is quite relaxing, and it's perfect for the kind of weather that we've got, the rainy weather. You have a cup of this, and normally some pakoras, but we thought we'll spoil you today, and we'll give you a proper, what I call a Desi brunch. And what that consists of is a traditional spiced omelette, chickpea curry, and a paratha. So again, is this the first time you're having this?
Yeah, I've had a paratha before.
Yeah.
I've not had a chickpea curry, shame on me, and I've definitely not had an omelette like this. And I'm looking at it thinking, goodness, that looks better than the boring omelettes I definitely cook.
Well, you know what they say, you're supposed to eat like a king during the mornings and lunch, and then you're supposed to sort of, tail off later. And Asian families, we do tend to, and especially back in India, Pakistan, they have very hearty breakfasts, full of, as you can see, the chickpeas is full of protein, so it is really good for you.
Indeed.
And obviously the energy from the paratha, and again all the rich, proteins again from the omelette. So it's a very good, energizing breakfast, which really gets you going. And we need you to be on that full-on energy, because we really need you, Sharon, in the kind of role that you're doing, and the work that you do. Because obviously myself, having been a user of the services that the Bradford Hospitals Charities supports and provides extra resources for me, it's definitely got a very special place in my heart. So for our viewers, tell us a little bit more about why you chose to get involved yourself and take up the role, and then what your day-to-day role involves.
Indeed.
And we'll definitely do that while we're eating, because you can't keep me away from food, so there's some cutlery next to you as well.
Lovely.
So let's
here's to the food and
that's
getting
it.
together.
Yeah, so tell me what you think about the chickpeas and the paratha. So the traditional way of having it is you break a little bit of the paratha and dip it into the chickpea, and then we see what it's like. Oh my
word, my husband's been so jealous when I've been doing this.
This is one of the perks of the job, isn't it?
Absolutely it is. I'm coming back.
Anytime. Like we said, this place is open for you anytime, Sharon.
Thank you. So yeah, just in terms of my role and why I took up the post here at Bradford was quite simple really. I've been working as Chief Executive in Leeds as under Children's Heart Surgery Fund, quite a well-known regional charity that supports children with heart disease and their families. I've done that for 16 years and built the charity from a very tiny team of 2 to when I left a team of 18. And it was an absolute pleasure and honour to be there for as long as I was, but I felt as though I wanted to broaden the specialties in health that I could potentially support. And an opportunity came up through a friend of mine that talked to me about the post here in Bradford. And the more I looked at the job description and what was needed and required from me, I just thought that has my name all over it. And it's a new city, which is again a good challenge for me. I live over the hill just in Ilkley, so not too far away, and it's just been brilliant to get to know a city that I don't really know that well, quite frankly. And the overwhelming support from the hospital when I joined was unbelievable, the friendliness. But the friendliness spreads out amongst the city, and when you're here to do good, it's well received, is what I'd probably say. And it's so dynamic in terms, and just looking at the Asian community in its entirety, wow, they've got so much energy and enthusiasm. It's almost infectious. And part of my role was to reach out to the community more than we have done in the past. It's been quite a dormant charity, quite low level, and I've been brought in to sort of build the brand, do more in the hospital and with all communities in Bradford, and I'm enjoying that. It's great, and it's good to do something completely different to what I've done before, although it's still in healthcare, but in a more broad spectrum of areas of support. So, for example, we support cancer projects, we will support children's projects, there's neurodiverse projects that we're involved with as well. And when I say involved with, what I mean is we enhance the service that is already there. So that might be to a special projects that, as we know, the NHS doesn't have a lot of money, and sadly charities like us exist to support the work that they do, and that's often very well received because people often know where their money is going, and that's what people want, or that's what we find, that's what people want.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I mean, I've got to know you obviously since you started a little bit being at some of the events and stuff, and I think you're absolutely amazing at connecting with people. Loads of people now in the community recognise you, and that's in such a short space of time. And that's credit to you because you're very warm and friendly, and it's like you said, you're approachable with people from all backgrounds. And that's really great because Bradford is obviously very diverse, and we've got such a wonderful multicultural community, and we all obviously have at some point of time used the healthcare services, the hospital, in which you support. And just talking a little bit more about the kind of work, the role that you do, alongside obviously working with business partners to try and get them to support the charity. You also do a lot of stuff in terms of encouraging people to come forward and volunteer to help out with fundraising, but even also in terms of helping some of the services that, like you said, are probably under-resourced. And we all want a healthcare that is perfect, don't we? As a newspaper, we know full well we've had people messaging in saying, "Oh, I've gone to use the services and I didn't get this and I didn't get that," and that's not necessarily because people aren't working hard and making this happen. It's because we need resources, and this is where your charity is very, very important.
You're right.
So we're very lucky that you've chosen to leave Leeds, thank goodness, and come to Bradford.
Come over the border.
Yes, thank you. Because you did great work when you were working for your former organisation, and they managed to raise millions, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was life-changing for them.
Particularly for the families, you know, my philosophy was around, if you help the family as a unit, you help you know, the child. Obviously it was children focused in that role, although there were adults that we supported with congenital heart disease as well, but primarily we focused on family support, and that holistic care, people coming in feeling supported was really important, and I think we can do that here as well, because as you say, some complaints sometimes is because we have all the medical equipment, we have the relevant people, but what we don't always have is that holistic hand-holding. It's fine when you come in, and because we'll talk to you about, you know, what the next steps are. And one example of that in the recent work that we've been doing is an introduction I'd like to give you to Baggins the bear.
Oh yes.
Bradford Hospitals Charity supporting it. We need about 20,000 a year to support these bears. They come in a little bag. There's a letter that goes out when patients are coming through the service of an operation, and the child is really looking forward to receiving the bear from the letter. So within the letter there's a video explaining what's going to happen to them when they come in, and then when they come in they're looking for Baggins, so their mind is taken off having to come into the hospital in general, which is amazing, and it's having a fantastic, the outputs of this bear and they are just wonderful. Just to give you an example, the operations that used to be around 7 a day have gone up to 10 because the anxiety of the children has just reduced so dramatically. They're a lot more comforted, they know what's going to happen to them because of the letter and the video, and then they meet Baggins and they love Baggins, and he's their go-to. And he's so soft and squishy. And he's about £3.
So did you bring him today to give you extra support for the interview?
I did. I thought
We're
you
not
might
going
like that.
I thought you might like that. Absolutely.
It's just a perfect example of how, when we're coming in, that bear helps the whole family. So he helps the clinician, he helps the child, and he helps the mum and the dad that are also feeling anxious that their child's about to have an operation. And so from a holistic perspective and from a cancellation perspective and a service perspective, we're just seeing dramatic changes from this bear. And so they're the small things that we can do in terms of holistic support and you know, and well-being, and looking after the mental side of that patient coming through, whether that's a child or an adult. I think we can do more.
No, absolutely. No, I think Baggins is a brilliant idea, and it's already in practice. It's already working.
Correct.
All we need now is people to donate to support that.
Indeed.
Like you said, £20,000 a year.
It's £20,000 a year. Currently it's in one service, and other services in the children's department are wanting it on the basis that they've seen the results and the calming results and the positive outputs of that. And you know, that costs money. And so we would like to think we could roll that out further if we have that support. So it's and lots of funders are really keen to help us, but obviously there's more to do.
And hopefully our viewers who are watching this will see the link across the bottom of the screen. So please, if you can, spare whatever amounts you've got, because we really want to continue seeing Baggins in the hospitals, don't we, and continue seeing that going forward. This isn't the only initiative though, is it? You've got the VR services as well.
Again, for children, and VR is, I suppose this is a distraction tool, and so is the VR kit as well, in terms of young children coming in and having their bloods taken. And I think I spoke recently just to say, not many of us like having our blood taken at any point in our life, but especially when you're a child, and that childhood trauma can go into adult side of things. So we've linked up with a manufacturer that brings them specific to the hospital, so they're wipeable, they've got all the proper measures in place, and they need to be quite robust as well, because these kits are thrown about a bit and used a lot. But the child will put the VR kit on and transport to another place. So they might be looking at dinosaurs, or they may be in another country, or it completely works. It's just amazing, and the clinicians are saying to us, you know, this little boy or this little girl would normally be screaming or crying, but they're actually looking for the VR kit now and it's completely working.
Well, I have a confession to make with the VR kit. Remember when you did the 100 Club launch at the hospital? I came to the launch and they had the VR kits there to show us all. So I put it on and I was so transported that the lady had to nudge me and say, "Can we have it back now?"
Oops, there you
was
go.
I only supposed to look at it for a couple of seconds? There you go, you can have it. But yeah, I mean, even for me, it was amazing.
That's a great point, Fatima, because what they're saying is one of the issues that we might have in neurodiversity and dementia and other areas of the hospital, actually VR kits would help adults as well and calm them down. So again, lots of work to do on that. Again, that holistic element to the work that we're doing and that support as soon as people come through, which will in turn, just dampen people's anxiety to a level that it's not such a trauma coming in.
Yeah, that's great. And I mentioned obviously the 100 Club. Our viewers don't know what that is, so would you be kind enough to tell us what the 100 Club is?
I would indeed. The 100 Club is aimed at business and community groups. People can join for £1,000 a year. We pull events together around networking, and it's unrestricted funding. So we put it towards projects such as banking, such as VR, and other great projects as well that we have on the go. So it's £1,000 a year. We want the club to reach 100. We're currently at 30. That would be an income of 100,000, which would be phenomenal because we can do great things with that. As I say, the income will be unrestricted, so it's down to us to choose projects that are relevant, but working with those businesses. And also they get their name on the wall in the hospital on the tree for
I've seen that.
We have businesses like Myla Harvey at Agra, and a real variety of businesses actually that do join. It's not just one sort of sector. And it's working really well. As I say, we're at 30 now, and we want to be able to double that really in the sort of next 6 months if we can. And it's proven really popular. So if anybody does want to join the 100 Club, you can go to our website and look at the details and contact us, and we'll have that conversation.
Fantastic. For most businesses, that's less than £100 a month, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah. Mr. Aslan from Agra said it's a coffee a day. To me the other day, and he's a good supporter. Been very, very well when it comes to events as well.
No, that's great, and it's good to see. And obviously, for these businesses to be supporting, for us also to be choosing you as our charity of the year, it must be because we also, all of us, see the value of the services and of the work that Bradford Hospitals Charity does, that then has a huge impact on the healthcare that we all ready for growth. I think you said something really important there, and I get asked this a lot as well, when you said that the NHS is already funded, you're already getting money from our taxes. Why should we pay again, so to speak? You've probably faced that question from so many people so many times. I know why it's important, and I know why we should support if we can. If you want to tell our audience, our viewers, why you think so, tell us a little bit more about that.
And I think I mentioned earlier, it's almost a shame we exist as a charity on the basis that wouldn't it be great if we had more money and the government had more money to give us, and we're going through times now that are really difficult with the cost of living and budget stretched in all directions, as we all know. And I do think the NHS has been in trouble for quite a lot of years, because I've been running a charity before for 16 years, and to be quite frank, nothing much has changed. So that additional money that I do think charities like healthcare charities like that have to be really mindful that the projects that we fund are not bog standard. So we're not replacing equipment that's already existing, but we're moving a service forward in an innovative way, in that we're adding value, and an innovative work is really important for Bradford, especially the cohort of patients that come through with really complex needs and disease. it's almost exciting for a lot of the clinicians that work there, quite frankly, because some of the conditions they wouldn't normally see elsewhere. But which means that we need this level of equipment in order to meet the needs of the patients and the type of conditions we're seeing. So it is about the innovative work, not the box standard equipment, and that's really, really important. And also supporting development of staff as well. So training courses that are not readily available within the budgets in the hospital because the cash is limited in what they get. And that's, I found that really rewarding. And I know that we've sent a team onto a development course and the feedback is so good and they can share that with their team. The neonatal unit have just recently gone onto a course and the feedback was just fantastic, and just the new ways of working and equipment that can be used. So when you see the value in developing staff and like that, and the equipment that we're funding and the wellbeing work that we're doing here, it makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and do your job really well and raise as much money and as much awareness as you can. And that's my motivator really.
You're definitely right, because I remember Hayley invited me to see the new neonatal centre, and she showed me around, and obviously, you know, that's where a lot of families spend their time with their newborns, and often it's quite distressing situations. And what we found is, and what she was telling me was, parents can't. There's no bedrooms, there's no beds for them. They're having to sit by the bedside with their child. And obviously now, through the work that the Bradford Hospitals Charity is doing, they're planning to get an extension so that you can then provide facilities for parents to stay with their child, which is going to be hugely beneficial. It's going to, hopefully reduce some of the distress that, I don't want to be separated from my child, and really have a massive impact. And that's an example of some of the great stuff that the Bradford Hospitals Charity is doing, and the initiatives that it's coming up with to make sure that we get the best.
Again, from that holistic wellbeing perspective of a mum, as you know, everybody knows, mum gets a good night's sleep, she can deal with anything on most things, and it's, I think they only have 2 rooms on there at the moment, so the idea is that they have 7, and actually a lot of people that come from outside of Bradford come to that unit as well. So they will travel because it's a level 3 centre, which means that it's got everything that people need, and often Leeds is full, so there's an overspill, and it's not just Leeds, it's from, someone came from down south not so long ago, because all units were full and we had a space. So York, they come from all over the region, it's not just Bradford, it tends to be from people that have a long way to travel, but they really need that those rooms. And so we're costing that project because inflation has gone through the roof, so we're just working on that as a working group now to see where costs lie and what we can contribute versus what the trust can contribute. But that project is very much at the heart of what I want to be able to deliver, because it is so meaningful and tangible, and we can see the benefit that will have. It is life changing because often these children are in for many weeks, months. So it's almost they become institutionalised with the parents in that environment for quite a long time. It's very it's quite emotional actually when you go in there and you see the tiny little babies and 24 weeks old, and so yes, we want to be able to help as much as we can.
Fantastic. So how can people get involved? What's the best way to contact them?
Well, you mentioned volunteering earlier, and we'd love to have more volunteers that are out there at some of our events that we've put on. We would love people to do some aid or fundraising themselves as well, and we can support with that every step of the way. Businesses that might want to be able to get involved again with the 100 Club, it's a great way of giving a small amount but making a big difference as a collective. And just any ways that people can think of any innovative ideas or events that they want to put on themselves, we are here to help you do that and support you in doing that. So any support is welcome, and donations as well where people can give through our website would be amazing.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure all the details are on the screens below for you to click on or take a note of, and make sure that you give as much as you can to support this fantastic charity. and it's been a really great insight for me as well to learn a little bit more about the work. But before we let you go, we want a bit more insight into you, Sharon.
Oh.
So now that you're a bit new into Bradford and you're learning a little bit
Yeah.
more, we want to see and test how much of Bradford you know so far.
Oh my goodness me. Well, do you know when I first
No
started?
pressure.
Well, I didn't know where anything was, and
Yeah.
I used to have to use my maps. I'm so glad for Google Maps. It's just been amazing, and the one-way system and how it works.
Yes.
So I do know a lot more about Bradford. I know sort of the iconic buildings now,
Yeah.
and I know where the events tend to be held, which is always a good thing. I can definitely get around. I can get around the hospital in itself more, because I was so used to Leeds and knowing the rabbit warrens and the ways to get around.
It's the opposite for us. We go to Leeds and that's what it's like for us.
Yeah, you just feel completely like a fish. I felt like a fish out of water, you know. But then I just ask people, because that's the best way, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's been great, and you know, as I say, just the warmth of the people and the community. And I said that, and I've had a new starter start with me in the last 3 weeks, and she goes, "Everyone's so friendly," and I go, "I know, they really are."
It's the Bradford hospitality.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and you know, I love the diversity. I feel like I've come home, if that makes sense. I like the way I'm learning all the time about different cultures, and there's so many. It's not just one, and it's been an insight to me. I've got mixed race children of Chinese heritage, and they love their food, and the family goes back, and so I feel like I'm quite at home, you know, with diversity, and I know how much Chinese people like to feed you. So
similar cultures.
it's very similar in that respect. So much very aware of that. So I think Bradford's just very welcoming, and I don't often think it gets the credit it deserves. I think that's starting to trickle through, and I'm always singing the praises and talk about all the positives, and you know, every city has its challenges, but and we can't shy away from that. But I do feel as though you've got to try Bradford to really feel it. You know, yourself. It's just very real.
So if I was to say to you, what's your favourite spot in Bradford, destination? What have you visited?
I like Mr. Park.
Oh,
I like Mr. Park. It feels quite calm, and you know, and it's a really nice place. The Midland Hotel is beautiful. I'd love to get some artistic, you know, do it up and make it amazing. And you know,
they need to let you. I hope they're watching this. Let Sharon loose in your hotel.
I would
She's
love that.
like,
I just looking around it, going, "Oh my goodness, this building's amazing."
The character's so stunning, isn't it? Of that, you know, the architecture is just beautiful.
The buildings around here are mind blowing. Obviously, back in the day with the Millons and things like that, but the history is there. And it's spectacular.
And I have to ask, curry. What's your favourite curry?
Lamb salad.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I like that as well. One of my favourites.
Love it. With boiled rice as well, so you get the flavour. So that is definitely not one of my favourites. Chicken boona, a bit more typical, but
you do know your curries well. That's really good.
My daughters love a curry, and hot Asian hot they call it.
Really?
They like a really hot curry. But yes, no, I do like a curry. It's for me, it's like a Friday night thing sometimes. For some it's Saturdays or Sundays, but for me it's Friday night. And chill out, nice little drink with it, and and I like mango lassi too. A little bit of that.
And now you like this.
And now I like this. I've clearly got sweet tooth.
Well, you know, like you said, you have a multicultural family, so when you get involved in Asian culture, you have to have a sweet tooth. We are well known for liking our sweets.
Absolutely.
So, no, definitely. But thank you so much for speaking to Sharon. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we do hope that our viewers, take on board everything that you said and give you all the support that you need. You've definitely got the support of Asian Standard. We'll be continuing to champion everything that you do, and we'll be continuing to support charity in any way we can.
That means a lot to us and to everybody. We talk about it all the time, because you've just been amazing in how you've helped us with the press releases, getting our name around, the Curry Awards. Obviously, we were the you sponsored us there, and it just these things may not seem a lot to you, but they're a big deal for us. These relationships that you're helping us develop and promoting the work that we're doing, but it really does mean a lot.
Brilliant. Well, we've only just started and we're going to make sure we continue. So thank you very much. Let's finish our food.
Indeed.
And bye to you for now. Until next time.